So I guess we're going to get started. Well, thank you everybody for being here today. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for attending this panel discussion this morning. My name is Philip, and I'm an admissions intern. And Paris is also an admissions intern. I will be monitoring the panel discussion today. So I'm from Cameroon, and I major in architectural studies here at Swarthmore. And I'm also involved with the Guitar Art Gallery and Voices, and as well as this formal bike share program here on campus. And I guess I can just ask everybody to introduce themselves. So Paris, you can go first, and then I'll just call each our panelist name. And also, I guess it's important to mention that Lisa Chen, which is working for the admissions office, is also joining us today, but her camera is off, so you won't be able to see her. This panel will be recorded and posted on the international student page. I guess it's admissions page, so that people who are not able to attend the panel discussion today can just view it on time. So Paris, if you can please go and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Paris. I'm a sophomore from Vancouver, Canada, and I'm majoring in political science with a double minor in peace and conflict studies and social psychology. And outside of academics, I'm president of the I-20 Club and also captain of the squash team and also a tour guide. And my favorite building on campus is Singer Hall. So yeah.
I forgot to mention that if everybody could just like give a name of your favorite building on campus, that'll be great. Thank you. Harry, can you go next?
Thanks, Philip. Hey, everyone, I'm Hari. I'm currently a senior at Swarthmore, although I'm going to be here for another semester. So if you accept, you might run into me. I'm a computer science and physics major, and at Swarthmore, I'm involved with the ice hockey club. I also play badminton. My favorite building would probably be Cornell Library. I just end up spending like a lot of time there, and I also like work there as a librarian. So yeah, and one last thing, I'm like currently attending classes at Swarthmore remotely from India, home country.
Great. Maya, can you go next?
Hi guys, I'm Maya. I'm a freshman. I am currently undecided, thinking maybe econ, Arabic, I don't know, figuring some stuff out. But that's the beauty of Spot. You can figure things out like that. I'm going to cheat for my answer of my favorite building on campus and say the Crumb instead, which my window looks out onto because I live in Dana Hall. I'm also from Vancouver, Canada. Fun fact, my house is 20 minutes away from Paris's. So that's just a cool little thing. I'm involved also in the I-20 Club a lot. I'm an operations manager, or I've been an operations manager this past year. Also in the South Asian Club, I'm involved, and in Salsa Club, my personal, one of my faves on campus. And what else? I'm French, American, Canadian. There's a whole spiel about me, but I'll let somebody else introduce themselves.
Amazing. Lamia, can you go next, please?
I feel like it's a good segue, actually. So my name is Lamia. I'm French and Egyptian, raised mostly in the UAE. I'm double majoring in sociology, anthropology, and computer science. And in terms of clubs, a lot of different affinity groups. We started a Middle Eastern student group, very involved in the African Student Association. Also, there's a group called Multi for people who are kind of just everything as well. Other things on campus are, I work a lot with the Lang Center, which is the Lang Center for Civic and Social Responsibility. So a bunch of things there. And I was also going to say the Crumb, but if it's going to be an actual building, I would say Worth Hall. It's a dorm. It's very run down, but it's also very charming and has very beautiful trees.
That's great. Ton, can you go next?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Twan. I use he him pronoun. I'm a student junior at SWAT. I'm studying medical anthropology and economics. What else is cool about me? Oh, I am president of CISA, which is the Southeast Asian Student Association on campus. I'm also part of the exec board of the student chapters of Doctors Without Borders on campus. And I'm serving as an Inclusive Excellence Fellow this semester. So pretty exciting. And I'm gonna be pretty basic and just say that my favorite building is McCabe because I spent every day of my life there. So
That's a solid choice. I forgot to give you guys my building on campus. Now it's John Paris in the single hall too. So I guess that was all for the introductions. And so I guess we can now jump into the Q&A session. So if everybody has any question that they want to ask, please just put it into the chat or the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar. Otherwise, we also have some questions on our own that we want to ask you guys, our panelists present here today. And I guess I will give it over to Paris. So Paris, if you can just take this over.
Yeah, just waiting for some Q&As to come in, but I do have some questions I'd like to ask you guys in the meantime. One of the things that I wanted to ask Lamia was, what academic support is there for students on campus?
There's a ton. There's a general program called the Student Academic Mentors, which are other students who usually are also major in whatever you're studying, who help provide resources, help you with course registration, help you like develop plans if you're stressed, things like that. And then there's also department support. So like, for example, in computer science, you can get, there's different like student run sessions to help you with your assignments. You can also go see professors. There's also possibilities to get like different tutors in different STEM fields. So there's kind of just this general thing, and then there's department specific things. And then I also think just like your peers and your friends that are going through the same classes, Swarthmore tends to be very collaborative in that nature. It's not very much like everyone's competing with each other. It's more like people are trying to figure it out together. So I think that's also an important one to note.
Thank you for your answer. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add before we go on to the next question? All right, she did a great job at answering. I was gonna ask Maya, what drew you to Swarthmore?
So the first interaction I had with Swarthmore was my mom went here many, many years ago. I'm actually wearing a shirt that I got at one of her reunions. And so I had seen the campus, and I'd visited here before, and I'd seen how beautiful it was. Actually, for a school project in like grade 10 or something, we had to make dream boards. And on my dream board, I put Swarthmore because it was just like always such a beautiful campus. How could I not want to go here? But then when it came time to actually apply, I was applied to a few different places, and I didn't. I wasn't thinking about Swarthmore as like the only option, but the more research I did into it, the more I kept thinking how cool it was, and how the liberal arts education for somebody who's undecided like me, that's really helpful, because like in Canadian universities, you kind of have to pick, you have to be more selective right off the bat. And I wasn't ready to do that. I mean, the campus is beautiful, like I said. There are innumerable resources. Like there's just so many reasons to come to Swarthmore that I couldn't possibly say no.
Yeah, Swarthmore is quite unique. All right, the next question is, what is the most challenging thing that you guys went through as international students? And I'm going to hand this one over to Hardy.
Thanks, Paris. So I will probably preface this by saying that international students get like a ton of support at Swarthmore. Like I think the bedrock of this is Jen Marks Gold, who's the international students liaison on campus, and yeah, she was super helpful for me. Like, right from when I got accepted to making sure that I was like settled well on campus, and yeah, the I-20 community is super supportive too. But in terms of challenges, like the one thing that kind of stood out for me was just kind of adapting to like academics at Swarthmore, or maybe like academics at an American university, versus like I went to school in India, so versus like your own schooling system. Like a couple things are for instance, like in general, you'll have to like start planning out your work on your own, because I think things are a bit more unstructured compared to like school. And then there's also the difference in emphasis. So like I went to like a very STEM heavy high school, and then Swarthmore like is a place where you have good STEM classes, but also lots of good humanities and social sciences classes. And so adapting to like writing at a college level. So that was a bit challenging, but I think Swarthmore also has the right resources for that. And yeah, like I think socially things were better. Even though it's like a completely new experience, I think the community at Swarthmore is super welcoming, and like I think like having other international students, making friends with them, that really helped me ease in. Yeah, so that's it from me.
Great. Tone, do you have anything you'd like to add to this question?
Yeah. Thank you, Hari. I think it's just sort of the same sentiment that Hari shared. But also, I definitely agree that the luck of being a Swarthmore student is I'm being very honest, you get so much love from Jen, who's like an absolute mom to all of us. And I think I'll preach the question. The question asks, "What's the most challenging thing?" And I'll kind of follow a little bit. Like you can make it less challenging for yourself if you recognize and to support the help resource available on campus, and also if you choose to take care of yourself, which is very important. A lot of us don't know how to self-care, until a pandemic hits. So it's really important to, especially in a rigorous environment like Swarthmore, things get challenging. I got stressed last week because they have like 20-page paper due. But I took a break, I had dinner with my friend, and I finished the assignment on time. So those are the things that I find. It is very challenging, but you're very smart and you figure it out.
And thank you for your answer. Also, Lamia, can you chime in a little bit as well?
Sure. So I think for me, it actually wasn't the academics. I think it was two things. One is the fact that I was just very used to being in an international school my entire life. And I'm sure that's the same for some students as well. Very used to being in an international setting where everyone's from a different country, where everyone just understands that everyone's from a different country. So I actually had a lot of issues like adapting socially when I arrived at Swarthmore, and having to deal with people's comments and stereotypes and whatever about certain countries. And I think I had come into Swarthmore expecting that like it won't be like this because it's a top liberal arts school. Obviously, everyone's like globally aware, things like that. But I think I kind of had to just check my expectations after a while. There's just like the little things of, people mispronouncing your name, or people not knowing where Abu Dhabi is, or, people asking stereotypes about Egypt or whatever it is. And I'm sure this is true for other international students as well. So I think that is something that I had to recognize. But as Hari said, it's also, there's such a big international student community here where there is also this huge community that's there to support you, and that oftentimes you end up being friends with anyways, right? Because you go through international orientation together, because you go through the experience of moving to the US together. So that's one thing. The other thing, though there is Jen and there's an I-20 office and there's a lot of people to support kind of within the international student community, I don't always find that there's kind of a awareness of the fact that there's such a big international student population within the rest of the administration. So sometimes when it comes to even small things like having to stay on campus for the breaks, if that's what happens, or when a pandemic hits and they're like, fly home, and you can't just, fly home when your borders are closed and things like that. There's just sometimes a lack of recognition as to the different sets of difficulties that international students have to go through. But again, as Hari and Antoine said, there's support there. So you kind of just have to find ways around whatever's going on with the larger student body and with the larger administration.
Thank you for all of your answers, everyone. Maya, there's a question about I-20 and what they organize and what they stand for. So can you talk a little bit about I-20 as operations manager?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of I-20, as anybody who's ever spoken to me on campus will know, because I'm just constantly trying to recruit people to come to the events. So I-20 is basically like, it's the international club. It's called I-20 because of the form that you have to fill out. There are tons of events that we organize. We do weekly dinners. we have like, I remember when I first got to SWAT, they did like a popsicle giveaway. We'll do, this year we did a lot of virtual events. We are planning right now to do like a lunch buddies situation where everybody comes and we're going to order food from off campus, and it's very exciting, and everybody's going to have an assigned lunch buddy, and it's going to be really fun. But yeah, we just do lots of little things, anything that builds a sense of community and just as an opportunity to get to know one another. The really cool thing about the I-20 Club is I find that as an international student, there's this sort of universal sense of like, we get it, we get what life is like in the US, but we also don't quite get it. And we can all sort of join over in that fact. And it's just, I remember when I got to Swarthmore, I was really lonely at the beginning because it was there was COVID. I didn't have a roommate. It was kind of hard to meet people in my dorm based on like literally just the way that it's built. But then I started going to I-20 events, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a community of people that I can connect with immediately. And I just felt so relieved and excited to be there. So it's a really, really awesome group of people. And I think that's more than anything what I-20 is just a good group of people to hang out with.
Yes, I definitely agree. I was gonna ask Hari about dorms. There was a question about residential life and sustainable communities and everything. So Hari, would you mind speaking to that?
Sure. I'm just taking a look at the question. Yeah. Dorms at Swarthmore. So I mean, I've lived in a couple dorms. I've been in ML, Danawell, and TPR. One of the things for freshmen is that like you don't get, unless things have changed, you don't get to pick your dorm. You fill in like a questionnaire, and they put you in a dorm according to that. And like, so in my experience, like a lot of international freshmen, Lamia here as well, we were all put in ML, Mary Lyons, in our first year. Yeah, my kind of evaluation is it's a nice community to be in because like, so this is a dorm that's a bit further from campus. Every other dorm is like right on campus. You can get up and walk to your classes in 5 minutes, whereas ML is like a mile away from like parish hall. But that still makes it a nice community because I think it's kind of wholesome. Like I want to say people are like less outgoing, but it also has a reputation as like kind of a nerdy place. But so depending on how those things sound to you, it can be a good community. The only people who weren't big fans of it were if you have a lot of friends who live on campus. So that's there. And yeah, but you get a better shot at picking your dorm second year onwards. You'll be put in a lottery. But I mean, apart from that, Danawell is like, it's probably the nicest dorm that you can get in as a freshman. Like it's super nice, and like I guess you have a view similar to what Maya is looking at, and but yeah, that's down to luck, and yeah, maybe others can weigh in on other dorms.
I mean, I can comment on Dana quickly. Dana and Hallowell. So there's 3 buildings that are connected. There's Dana, Hallowell, and then in the middle there's Danawell. And so a lot of people like to hate on Dana and Hallowell because it's a little bit older. There's a sort of, I don't know if it's true or not, but everybody says that it was built to be riot proof because the halls are all like curved and weird. Which is what I was saying earlier. It's kind of hard to meet people because in a normal dorm, you'd probably be able to just poke your head out and see a bunch of people, but not in Dana. And like we have some weird walls, but I think it's great. I was given the option to move out of Dana and I chose not to into like the new dorm DK, which everybody always wants. But I think like the view is awesome. The location's not bad. And if it depends on what you want out of a dorm, but I think that any dorm can be good. Like, I don't think there's any terrible dorm. Like just look into there's definitely resources on the Phoenix and online that can maybe help you figure out what each vibe is. Like Willits probably has its own vibe and here and you can definitely find something that's more suited to you.
I can also come in quickly on this one. So right now I'm living in Walton Hall. which is also one of the freshman housing residence hall on campus. And I love it, honestly. It's my first semester here in Wharton Hall, and I just think it's really warm and really welcoming. People here are really nice. And we also have what we call the Wharton Courtyard, and it has like the trees now blossom, so they're magnolias, and like they're all pink, and it smells really good. I think it's really, really pretty spot on campus in the spring semester.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of amazing dorms and different personalities for each of them. I was gonna now ask Lamia about what you do during the holidays. Would you stay on campus or do you go to your friends' places? What do you do?
Yeah, so it definitely depends for everybody, their different economic situation and what they want to do. Generally for the shorter breaks like fall break and spring break, you can either go somewhere nearby, you can also stay on campus. The winter breaks and the summers, you do have the options to stay on campus, especially as an international student. Some people also go to friends' houses, as I said, maybe somewhere else in the US. If you have the means, you can also fly home at different points. You also get one ticket to go home at one point during your Swarthmore career. So if you do decide that you want to go home but don't have the means for it, you can do that. Through that ticket. There's also this like I-20 loan where you can essentially take out a loan that you can use towards tickets, and you just have to keep paying it back. But when you pay it back, it's available to you again. So you can keep kind of taking it out over the 4 years. Some people also get host families. So I think especially if you've come to Swarthmore with a program, like I know like Kensap in Kenya or Bridge to Rwanda in Rwanda, they help match you with a host family in the area. So I know oftentimes people will also go spend like a weekend or a break with their host family as well. So there's a bunch of different options. I will say if you do end up staying on campus, it is kind of nice to experience campus without all the other students and really just being with other international students, because I think that that's also what makes really strong bonds. I mean, I've been stuck on campus since the pandemic hit, and the other 30 international students who have been here for a year and a bit, we've all become really close. So I think that there are benefits to staying and just enjoying the campus when it's empty as well.
Thank you for your answer. The next question is going to be for Hari, and it was about particularly with computer science, or if you have anything to add on that, but how doable is it to create a major?
Gotcha. Yeah, I also wanted to add something small to what Lamia was saying. Yeah, like I agree. Like I think being on campus when students aren't around, it's like it's definitely a completely different vibe, and it's pretty cool too. Like if you end up staying on campus, one of the nice things is like Swarthmore is not far away from New York, so there you can get like mega bus tickets to New York for like $10. And so that's something that I would often do, like go to New York with friends, or even go around Philly. But like answering Sajid's question, yeah. So like so you've mentioned like you wanna do like a double major, you're interested in data science, and you want to combine computer science courses with stats. People definitely do have double majors here at Swarthmore. Like one of my friends was a computer engineering major because there is a regular computer science major, and then he wanted to learn more about the hardware aspects of computers. So he submitted a proposal. He said, I'll take these classes from CS and a couple others from engineering. Like what I've heard is typically for double majors, it's like if you're interested in like something that's not offered, so that would be like computer engineering, or I've heard of someone who double majored in I'm not sure of the term, but it has to do with the field of engineering where we mimic natural like biological things. So that's something that they like. And if it's usually like you just want to major in a combination of two existing majors, they just ask you to like take those specific majors. So I mean, in your case, you could totally just major in computer science and statistics. That's something you can do. One option is you could propose a plan for a data science major. But that's something like I'm not so informed of if people have done that. But yeah, like Swarthmore does, like the CS department has a couple of courses. They have AI, machine learning, computer vision that suit your interests. So I think you should be able to do that. Like even if you might be able to do the the special major, and even if you're not, you can find like a lot of relevant courses.
I'll add something really quickly because the student asked about data science. I believe Bryn Mawr has a minor or a course that like about data science, and there are students who minors in data science at Bryn Mawr, and you can take classes at Bryn Mawr. So even if SWAT, if you find that mixture of computer science and statistics isn't satisfying in its way, you can take courses on data science at Bryn Mawr, Harvard, or even UPenn, because Swarthmore are in consortium with them.
Great. Tuan, while I have you, I was going to ask you what it was like adapting to speaking English 24/7 when you came to study in the US.
It's so annoying. I'm kidding. I should also, I think I forgot to mention that I am from Vietnam, born and raised. And I think the question asked studying, writing, and speaking. I think with writing and speaking, you sort of, your conversation with friends at Sharples or just hearing a lecture, your English will improve. That's like a no doubt because you are engaged with it every day. I will say that particularly with writing, and for me, it's like an anthropology major. You just have to end up doing a lot of essays. And one resource that is available and that you will be introduced to during your orientation is multilingual specialist, Professor Mara Floyd. And I believe her course for first year seminar is called Introduction to College Writing. And it's available to students. And yeah, I think a lot of my friends, international friends, took it, and a lot found helpful in helping them transitioning into college writing, which is a very specific literary genre, and getting used to not only that, but also like you'll get introduced to resource and library, in case you do future research project for your class or summer. So that's when you'll be introduced. So I'm not worried. Yeah, the thing I would say is, you were, because you were being exposed 24/7 to English 24/7, you got to improve. And I really, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I should also say that like I think I grow up was very insecure about my English skills. I get bullied a bunch because I have accents or something. And it's not gonna happen. No one's gonna really I think coming to as a freshman, I was like a little bit so self-aware about like a little accent that I have. But like no one really care. It's the thing. Yeah.
Thanks for your answer. The next question is, what would you say defines Swati? And I'm going to give this one to Maya.
Defines a Swati? Well, I think Swarthmore, because of the whole, the nature of the liberal arts thing, I think what you can find in almost every Swarthmore student is a desire to learn and a desire to expand their view of the world and the subject that they want to know. And there's just there is a sense of passion in everybody. It may not be directed towards one thing or like for me, undecided. I don't feel like there's a specific subject that it's passion towards, but I think there is a sense of just a genuine love of learning, life, and everybody here is very nice. Like that is something that you hear, but I think it's quite true. I know that at a lot of elite schools, they tend to have a very, very competitive environment that can be potentially a little bit harmful to mental health and can be a bit toxic. I have never had that experience at Swarthmore, and I don't know many people who have, because people here just recognize that learning is a collaborative process and we're all here to help each other out. There are always resources available, and it's just it's a supportive community, basically.
Thank you, Maya. I was going to ask Lamia now how international orientation worked, and if you have any advice for things to pack for freshmen.
Okay, for international orientation, honestly, it's so helpful and so necessary, I feel like. So you kind of all move in early, about a week early, you get settled in your dorms, and then there's a bunch of different activities, not only to just like meet each other, to explore the campus, but then there's also very important sessions about like, how do you file for being able to work in the US? How do you, like, what are the different things that you need to keep in mind for your visa, like things like that. So you have all of these different sessions. There's also just mixers. It's kind of a way for everyone to adapt and get used to the campus before everyone else arrives. And I saw there was also a question about going into Philly. I'll briefly answer part of that in here, which is part of international orientation in non-COVID years is being able to actually go into Philly and do a scavenger hunt and spend a day there and kind of get familiar with the different stations to take the train and stuff like that. So I think it's a great time overall. It is a bit hectic, especially since you're like usually jet lagged depending on where you're coming from. I remember just not sleeping a lot that week because all the activities were during the day, but it was so worth it. So international orientation then transitions straight into regular orientation, like orientation for everyone. So from that, you get to then go into like the more SWAT-wide things about classes and pre-registration and stuff like that. As for what to pack, I was nervous by my strategy because I thought it would backfire, but I think in the end it was the best thing to do. I didn't pack that much. I just brought like clothes, especially since I was living in the UAE, so I didn't have winter clothes or anything like that back home anyways. So I just kind of brought day-to-day things, and then everything else you can usually get here. So in terms of like bedding, bed sheets, towels, like anything for your like room, anything like that, you can definitely get from stores that are near campus. You also get coupons for those places. There's also sales during move-in time to help make those things more affordable. And then I was going to say something else. Oh yeah, same with like school supplies, stuff like that. Don't worry too much about bringing any of that kind of stuff. And then for winter clothes, there's also a drive that's hosted by I-20 where they give you winter clothes that other people have donated, and you can kind of pick a coat, pick boots, pick whatever. So if it's the first time that you're going to experience winter like it was for me, don't worry about it. You can go through the drive. There's also like cheaper stores like Marshalls or whatever where you can get things on discount. You can also order them online and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it would be best to pack lighter, especially since if you have to do like big international travel, and then kind of figure out the rest here. Oh, there's one more thing I was going to add. A lot of in non-COVID years, and I think it's starting again now, there's also this thing called Worthmore, which is where people, past students who have moved out, donate all of their leftover stuff. So it's also very easy to get school supplies and things for your room from there, so you don't actually have to purchase it. So all of that to say, like, there's different options for getting stuff when you're here. Don't bring too much. It's just going to be a pain in the butt when you're having to travel.
Great, thank you for your answer. Now I see a lot of questions about internships, jobs, using Philly as a resource. I'm going to hand it off to Hari, and then we'll also have Tuan come in and ask or answer some questions about that.
Gotcha. Let's see. Like, there was a question about like, finding a job after graduating. Yeah, or like, what are chances of like getting jobs for international students versus domestic students? Like, I can answer this like more anecdotally. Like, I don't think I have statistics, but I think people do fine. Like, to the extent that I'm aware, like people in the class of 20, I think people who were looking for jobs were able to find jobs. And, this is despite the fact that there was a full-blown pandemic going on. And I think, yeah, same goes for grad school. Like, among my friends who are applying to grad schools, I think people get in. Yeah, I think like you will find that like if you're a student on an F1 visa, it's like there is going to be a difference. Like if you're an American national, like it's going to be a bit easier. But I think a lot of employers recognize Swarthmore. They know that this is a good school. It's grad schools certainly do. And yeah, so I don't think this is like this is something that I was certainly worried about. But like you find Swarthmore alumni at like in any place you can think of. I'm interested in tech. I'm interested in working in tech, and like I've met like Swarthmore alumni at Microsoft, Google, and I kind of interned for a Swarthmore alum who like is setting up his own startup, but used to work for the World Bank, who's also international too. So I meant all of these people are internationals. So yeah, I think you'd be in good shape if you came to Swarthmore. And then talk about internships. Yeah, I mean, I can probably answer specific to tech. Like, yeah, so I mean, in the US, like you can apply to tech internships. You can apply to startups, you can apply to like a lot of the big companies that there are. In terms of Swarthmore, the CIL, Center for Innovation and Leadership, they provide some opportunities. The Career Services Office also really helps you out. They help you like, edit your resume, and also like connect with alums for these companies, so that like if you connect with an alum and they give you a referral, it's often easier to get an interview. So usually companies have a resume screen and then an interview, so you can skip the resume screen, I guess. And yeah, Swarthmore students commonly, like apart from tech, they intern in like finance, consulting. A lot of people do volunteering stuff. A lot of people do research opportunities as well. But I think I can let others weigh in on those other things.
Yeah, thank you, Hari. I found that useful. And I think the question the student asks is job search or going to grad school. I can follow up with the latter. I would say with some opportunities, more generally, you can of course find internship at firms and companies, honestly around the world. You can kind of go where utilize that international mark you have. But you can also, and that's what I'm doing this semester, is I'm joining a team to do health economics research. And if you're interested in grad school, SWAT has amazing opportunities for you to involve in research projects that you can do faculty-led projects that I'm doing this summer, or you can also request funding, like academic. There's so much like different sources. I think the big ones, academic divisions, you get a fancy name for your stipend. The Lang Center offers fund for students who want to do social justice oriented project. And even I believe like career service gives you money as well to do internship with your mentor. So there's a lot, but I'll still go back to the question about grad school. It's interesting. I will say it does not apply to all grad school programs. I'm looking specifically to go to public policy or public health. And maybe with that, like what I'm aware is like they kind of value work experience. So I wouldn't, first of all, I wouldn't like, you were a freshman, mostly you're a freshman. So I wouldn't worry about like your job prospect like right away. The market changed rapidly, for good or bad. And if I don't think you should, I think you should definitely think very carefully when like when you go to Swarthmore, you obviously have to weigh in a lot of different factors. Same thing with grad school, but also with grad school, unfortunately, they don't give out a lot of financial aid or scholarship. And that's like for domestic students. They give out even less for international students. So it is a big investment. You will be out of the job market for 2 or 3 years. So, someone who's like economics, you have to think about opportunity costs that, and it's definitely, going to be an enriching experience, and, having an advanced degree will help you a lot in the long run. But, I think it was carefully, a big majority, as you will think, and you will like expect, Swarthmore like produce like the highest number of PhD in like the country. Yeah, so it's a big, I can see like the economics department is like a PhD pipeline. So many people just want to go and get their PhD and become professor in econ or so it is a trend. It is a what's up at Swarthmore, but it's not for everyone, and you just have to take your time and trust the process. Grad school also applied to like law, dental, and med school. And if you choose to go to medical school as an international student, I really admire you. I will also say it's definitely challenging, but you have resources like Gigi Simone, who's the pre-law and pre-health advisor, and she's like absolutely the best. So you have amazing individuals to help you. Definitely utilize career services on like early on. Like even when you're a freshman, you don't have anything on your resume. Like just go to them and tell them your interests. Like these are my interested industry, or these are things that I want to study in grad school. They will help you. So it's a matter of knowing what reasons come to, and you will get introduced it during your orientation as well. If I'm not being specific enough, yeah.
Thank you, Hari and Tuan. Maya has to leave somewhat soon, but I was just going to ask her quickly about the academic rigor at Swarthmore and what sort of support there is for international students.
So everybody hears all these horror stories about how rigorous Swarthmore is and how it's like the hardest school ever. And yes, it is not the school to come to if you want to just chill out and have a super easy, like every class is going to be super easy. It's not going to be easy. It is a hard school for sure, but it's not as inaccessible or terrifying as it may seem. And also, all of the professors that I've ever had have been very, very, very supportive, and they want to help you. That's the beauty of going to such a small school, is you get to develop relationships with your professors and go to office hours and all these things where if you take advantage of the opportunities that you have, you will be absolutely fine, and you don't need to freak out too much about how intense it is, excuse me. And as for the resources, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of resources that are just open to everybody, like office hours, and there's most subjects have tutors for each one. Like I know that the computer science, they're called ninjas, and they have like fun names: alchemists, photons, etc. And so it's often very helpful to just be able to go to a student who can relate a little bit more to not understanding things, and they'll help you out. And everybody, like I said, it's just a very collaborative environment. People are willing to help you out, so you don't have to worry too much. My class starts at 9:45, so I do have to go right now, but thanks for listening to me, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the panel, and hope to see you on campus next semester.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good day.
Right. Next, we're gonna talk about some of the more fun things about Philly, and our Swarthmore's connection to Philly. So I'm going to ask Lamia to talk about this.
One thing I was going to add about academic rigor, I think also is recognizing the difference that in high school, I don't know if anybody's taking like the International Baccalaureate program or something else, but whether you're in that program or not, you're taking like 6 different subjects, plus you have to do your extracurriculars for the IB, right? You're taking your 6 classes, extracurriculars, TOK, extended essay, all of the other stuff that you just do as a high school student. So I think it's also worth noting that in college, you're taking up like 3 to 5 classes. You get to manage how much more you take on outside of the classroom, but it is definitely manageable to do a lot more outside of the classroom. So I would just put it that way as well, that you might have like harder classes, but it's not as many in that sense. As for Philly, I think Philly is actually a really cool city, and that a lot of Swatis don't get to enjoy it as much as they could. So you do get to experience it a bit through international orientation. There are also other programs hosted by different offices on campus. I know there's one where they just like pay for your train tickets so you can go into Philly and do an activity together. There's also ways that you can get train tickets through different departments. I've had professors give me train tickets as well. So it's really easy to just get on the train, which is at the bottom of campus, and be in Center City in 30 minutes, be in West Philly by like in 25 minutes. Things to do in Philly. So there's kind of this like central district, which has a lot of like little shops and restaurants. The Center City train gets off in Chinatown, which means there's just a lot of good food around there. But Philly is also a city that's known for its art and its music scenes. So there's a lot of really cool like music bars and like small concerts, things like that. There's also a lot of international artists that come to Philly specifically. I don't know if people are into Afrobeats and stuff, but like Mr. Easy came, Burna came, all these things, and the tickets were like $20. There's also really great museums. The Barnes Foundation is one of my all-time favorite museums anywhere, and it's right in Philly, and you have a student discount. But then, like, if you move away from Center City, Philly is one of those cities where like every district is so vastly different from the other. So I think just by that nature and the fact that it's kind of laid out in a way where you can walk, there's a lot to just explore, and I would recommend walking around and taking people up on the opportunity to get train tickets or to do activities with them. And also just it's a great way to kind of get out of the Swarthmore bubble for a weekend or for a day or whatever it is, and come back in. So yay for Philly in my book.
Yes, I also love going into Philly. And there's some really cool opportunities and programs that Swarthmore runs where they give out free train tickets and stuff. So definitely nice to utilize that resource. I was gonna now, there's a question specifically for Hari about where CS majors get internships and job fairs related to CS and things like that. So Hari, can you speak to that, please?
Yeah. Yeah, like I definitely guess that this is something that people are concerned about, because like I was concerned about it. Like I'm paying a lot to go to Swarthmore till I get a job. Yeah, like where do CS majors get internships? I mean, they're talking about CS majors and then talking about like international students, but I think like both groups do pretty well. Like I guess I can just kind of think about people that I know, like people, like some of my friends have gotten like internships at like companies you've heard of, like one of them interned at Facebook, like and like people I've known in classes, like one of them was interning at Qualcomm. So like I'm pretty sure like there are a lot of people out of Swarthmore who worked at Google, Facebook, and the likes. Talking about international students, like I mean it's a smaller subset, but like I have a friend who interned at Salesforce and then went to work there. Also like another friend who like works at Google, and like that. I mean, I guess there are international alums that I've also met at these tech companies. In general, I think the appeal with Swarthmore students for tech companies is that I think like I mean they're looking for people who are capable software engineers, but also have like a liberal arts aspect, in the sense these are people who know how to like write critically, to like read critically, analyze things from like maybe a social sciences or humanities perspective. So yeah, and tech companies really like that. They really like the fact that you have a liberal artsy perspective. And I think people are not just doing software engineer roles, like people are looking for product management, PM in internships. Yeah, so these are places where people get jobs. And I think other places to mention are like there are banks which have tech roles. So like, Goldman Sachs, maybe Citibank. So those are also places you can go. And then a lot of startups hire as well. Like there are startups run by Swarthmore alums, and a lot of startups in Philly. People typically go to either like West Coast or New York City, the East Coast. And about job fairs, Swarthmore doesn't, I mean, I don't think there are job fairs. Like there are a few companies that come to recruit through the career services office, but Haverford, which is part of the TRICO, they have a job fair. And yeah, so I mean, like I think a few well-known companies do come through, but I think it's really more typical for you to like just apply and get jobs. So that's kind of more typical. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, great, thank you. And Tuan, one of our last questions, can you answer about doing a double major and if these majors have to be relevant or related in any way?
Yeah, sure. About double majoring. I think I was like procrastinating on something last week, so I looked up like the class of 2020 stats. I think like honestly half of the people who graduated were double majoring. And I give it a specific example that my roommate sophomore year major in chemistry and dance, and like they kick ass in both. So it does not have to be relevant. You don't have to like explain yourself to anyone. I guess you can say like, oh, because I like bio and I don't know, anthropology. It makes complete sense to you, and that's all that matters. I will say with double majoring, it's definitely doable because it's becoming more, popular. So you will also get more support. And I think just the matter of making sure, when you're freshman year, then take over, you like explore, make most of the pastoral semester. That's the only time you will not have to worry about grades. But obviously put effort in. Don't slack off. Making sure that you're on track, you are meeting on the prereqs. Do your PE early. That's my only thing to say. That's one thing you take before at the end of this panel discussion is go do your PE quick. Like some people like can't graduate because they haven't, they miss a PE, and that's just a bad way to end your college career. This is not about double majoring. I'll focus back. But the same, if you are on track, you're taking the course, like taking writing courses, taking like lab requirement and like humanities, social science, and the science, it won't be a issues to have a double major. I think maybe my case is that I'm double majoring, but because I'm also part of the honors program, which you will hear more about at the school-wide orientation. But I think for honors, people in the honors program, you are required to have an honors major and honors minor. And with econ, I decided to just also finish the course major as well. Some course, I would say with engineering, it'd be a bit more difficult. I don't think I have any prospective engineer in our panelists. But I think engineering is a bit harder because they require more than 8 credits and you just have to navigate. But if you're not engineering, also you pre-med, then that's also a bit more tricky because you need to fulfill those pre-med requirements, and not every time you get the courses you like. Sometimes like class function, like you have course schedule conflict and you like have to wait a year to take the course. So with that, you just have to communicate clearly with your advisor. You will be assigned with a liberal arts advisor. And follow through. When you're sophomore year, you submit your sophomore plan, declare your major. You have your major advisor. So keep in touch with them. They're like a wonderful resource for you. And yeah, I wonder if others have anything to add.
I was going to add, I'm a computer science and anthropology major, which definitely answers the irrelevant part of the question. As Tuan said, a lot of people do double major, a lot of people major and double minor, a lot of people just do some combination of whatever. I definitely think it's okay to have irrelevant majors. That's part of the beauty of coming to a liberal arts school. I know personally that's the reason I moved to the US instead of maybe doing it back home where I would have to do it in 2 different universities. So don't worry too much as well about like, I need to major in a specific thing that's going to look good for jobs. Honestly, major in what you want to major in what you're interested in. But I was also going to say, it's not like double majoring means you're taking more classes, right? Like you're still taking the same number of classes, no matter what you major, double minor, whatever in, more or less. It's more so that you might have some other requirements to finish, or that you might be limited in being able to take other classes that are not in either of those majors. So it's not like it's like more of a workload in that sense. You just might have to write like a thesis for anthropology or take certain prereqs for STEM classes, things like that. But even as a double major, you can definitely, I saw there was a question about having a job. You can definitely have campus jobs. You can have multiple campus jobs. I think at most I had 4 one semester or 5. Like you can definitely still work and have a life and have projects outside of school and stuff like that. I think everything is just a balancing act, and you'll kind of get into the groove of things, as Tuan said, through the pass-fail semester, your first semester.
I think we reached the end of this panel discussion. So I think it's important for me to add that we have a Discord server. So if you have any other questions that you want answered, please connect with us on Discord. You can join Paris and I over there, as well as many other students. We'll be happy to answer any question that you might have. We also have a WhatsApp number if you want to ask more personal questions, or just put the number in the chat. So you can also ask your questions on WhatsApp. So thank you so much, everybody, for connecting with us today. Thank you for our panelists for answering all these questions with so much insight. Thank you, Paris, for coordinating for monitoring the Q&A session so well, and Lisa for helping us with these events. And thank you all to our attendees for just connecting with us today. Have a good day, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned so much with us today. Thank you so much again. Goodbye.